Chinese 118-year-old archive, now NFT. Okay, this goes back to, I think that's why you were asking me about the Israeli Prime Minister's oath. Yeah, why don't you touch on that?
Well, it's pretty cool. It's just another way of immortalizing things on the blockchain using NFTs.
Sure.
I don't actually know much about this. Oh, no, I did read about this. It's like a very old library that was hidden behind a gigantic brick wall, if I remember correctly, that was only just uncovered.
Okay.
Well,
on that note, it's funny. I was watching Gary Vee the other night. Trying to really wrap my head around the whole NFT thing, because it is. I think we're just barely at the tippy tip of this iceberg.
Yeah.
And he and this other guy who was an artist, and they were talking about obviously it's a bit bubbly right now around the whole music art NFTs, but still his take was, Gary Vee's been around for a long time. He's really only been visibly, I would say his visibility has just popped in the last 5 years. Prior to that, he's building,
yeah.
but in the last 5 years is really where he's sort of like become a global name. But he was talking about all the trends he jumped on prior to that, the internet, social, all these other stuff. And he goes, I called it in, I was in on that. I called it in, I was in on that. And so he's banking on his and I think he has a special intuition about these things. And he's like, look, this is bigger than big. He says this will be, till the day I die, this will be huge.
He's basically calling it the opportunity of his lifetime, isn't it?
What's that? Say it again.
He's basically calling it the biggest opportunity of his lifetime, isn't he?
I think it was something to that effect, because it was the whole point of the NFT is that, outside of, the things we can't think of, just from because he's a huge collector. He was talking about purely from an IP. He was talking about all the derivatives from that IP. So he was really going down the rabbit hole just on that angle alone. And I think he was really giving credence to that. We hadn't even begun to consider those things, much less anything else, right?
Yeah.
All the other different use cases, he didn't even touch on those. So if you took that as a fraction of all the use cases, and even that fraction is, insurmountably big, then so I think NFTs are definitely, we're just barely scratching the surface of those what that is. I think we're just using that as a placeholder until we can break it down further. So anyway, so going back to the Chinese archive, so I went on a tangent there, but yeah, I mean, it's history, right? It's a way to capture, it's a way to capture and legitimize history. Certainly anything going forward, anything will be archived via NFT and verifiable via NFT. So that way, truth will be indisputable. I think that's the purpose. I mean, really, if you want to get down to it, that's probably one of the sexiest value proposition of NFT is that you can't deny the original source.
That's true. That's kind of scary though, in a way, because I mean, the old adage of history is written by the victors sort of comes under scrutiny there, I think, because
the interpretation. Well, hold on. Let's separate the actual transaction or the thing that was created, whatever it was. The interpretation, that's a separate issue. But the fact that it took place at this time. So I think memes are a great sort of, we live in this meme culture. What are memes? Memes are just an idea that gets propagated down and, kind of in sort of morphs into different things, right? But the source of that meme is always of dispute. Oh, where was the origin of that, And I think we will be able to trace origins, whether it's music, whether it's any idea, anything can be really traced to this particular point in time through NFTs.
Yep, no, that makes sense.
I mean, it will be undeniable, because unless you can find something that precedes that source of whatever's in discussion, then you're like, there it is. That's the genesis of whatever that was, right? And we can go back in retrospect with that now, but I think going forward, I mean, you will not be able to rewrite. I was watching this thing the other night. Well, I'm kind of chuntering on tonight, but I was listening to, it was a Netflix thing. It's like How to Become a Tyrant or something.
Oh, I literally scrolled past that last night.
Yeah. No, it was funny, right? So it was sort of like the playbook of how to be a tyrant. It's going through all the guys. Hitler, Stalin.
Taking notes.
Sorry, who?
Taking notes.
Yeah, right. I'm a lover. I'm a lover, not a fighter. MC Liquid. Hello. So no, it is anyway. The point part, one of the ones was about Stalin, and he was going through basically rewriting history, post Lenin, and it's an interesting thing because you can burn all the books, you can burn all the evidence, and say, okay, well, this happened, and then you have people kind of having to go through the archives and say, okay, where did things sort of get split? I think in this case now it'll be indisputable. So that I think that's just one sliver, one use case, one instance of how the NFTs will be, I think, ultimately world changing for us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it does it's all underpinned by blockchain, but I mean, again, one use case of this technology.
Yeah, I mean, imagine having every country's national archives and libraries of indigenous artifacts and stuff immortalized on the blockchain.
Totally.
Because that's where it's going to go eventually.
Totally.
Yeah.
Huge. So there we go. I think we'll have to do it. I think we were talking with the team today actually about doing an NFT special with NFT projects are coming out left and right. We'll spin off our own. I think we've alluded to that before.